I don't want to switch back to Sony, Steven, but this lens is insane. Jared Polin, phronosphoto.com, and this is a review of the Sony 50 to 150 f2 G Master. When they told me about this lens, I said, oh, why did I say that? Because I'm kind of upset that Sony did this first and I'm a Canon shooter, and this is the type of lens that takes you to a system. This is one of the, and I'm not burying the lead here, one of the greatest, most impressive lenses I've ever seen. I'm speechless. Well, I'm not ever speechless, but this is the most incredible lens I've seen in a long time, and I am gonna wanna own this thing really bad. We have a lot to talk about. This is a 50 to 150 f2. It's what I would consider to be a prime zoom. I started to say that when I switched over to Canon for the 28 to 70 f2 because Sony didn't have it at the time, and I'm like, this is like a prime zoom. Why? Because it's faster than 2.8, but it has the versatility of a zoom. And the big questions start to become, do we not use the primes that we have? Like you have a 50, an 85, a 135. Do we replace that with something like this? And that's a great question, and it's gonna be different for each person and for different situations, but the versatility of having 50 to 150 f2 is insane. In essence, you're replacing a 50, an 85, a 105, a 135, and now you have a 150. I'm gonna answer all the different questions about this. Do you replace a 70 to 200? I'm gonna show you the difference between 150 and 200 because visually, there is actually a difference there. Is it gonna replace a 135? And I'm just gonna tell you the 135 1.8 is dead to me at this point because this thing is absolutely insane. Let me tell you what I photographed with this lens. I took it out to the ballpark. There's a lot you can do, not just shooting baseball itself, but you've got batting practice. You have the coach sitting on the bench where you can get portraits of the coach and you can get what goes on at batting practice, players hanging out doing their thing, but also during gameplay, depending on where you can sit, you can get some fantastic results. It just so happened that one of the games that I photographed had Shohei Ohtani and the LA Dodgers in town, so that was a great opportunity to test this out in the real world. But physically, let's take a look at this lens. It is much different than you would expect a 50 to 150 f2 to be. If you look back at something like a 200 f2, that is a massive lens, and that wasn't a zoom, it was just a prime, and that is heavy, big, unwielding, and a 70 to 200 was probably a better choice because you're trading off the 2 for the 2.8, but you have the versatility of the 70 to 200. So this is giving you a beautiful, nice feeling lens. Is it chodier than a 70 to 200? The answer to that is yes. This is a chody feeling lens. Let me pull out the 70 to 200 because I have it right here like this. It is lighter. It's not nearly as thick. This is a 77 millimeter filter thread. The 50 to 150 is a 95 millimeter filter thread, and it doesn't do drop-in filters. So if you're shooting video, you're gonna put an ND on this, you're gonna need a 95 millimeter thread. But these are the differences. It's not that different. Yes, this is thinner. This is one of the greatest 70 to 200s ever made, and it's going underneath right now because one of the major questions is, does the 70 to 200 get replaced by this? And the answer is, for certain people, yes, and for certain people, no. We'll get more into that as we move on. Now, you've got the lens hood. I just mentioned that you have filters. Well, you'd still have a lens door, a door right here to work the filter through the top. It is a shorter lens hood than you have with your 70 to 200. That's just the nature of it, but this is what comes with it. In terms of your zoom throw, this is 50. This right here is 150. It's gorgeous, it's smooth, it's perfect. There's nothing I would change about this lens right now, other than maybe in the same size, being like 50 to 200 f2 or 50 to 180. You hear that, Canon? You have an opportunity to do something a little different. You've been caught off guard here. You had the 28 to 70 f2 first like 6 years ago. Then Sony hits with the 28 to 70 and then follows it up with this bad boy. That's insane. The feel is incredible. not too heavy. It comes in at 2.95 pounds or 1,340 grams. And for comparison, the 70-200 comes in at 2.3 pounds. So obviously it's slightly heavier, but it's not a deal breaker at all. You've got your iris ring, which I'm not a big fan of. You can lock it. You can have it do click or no click. I just lock it in because I never want to touch it at all. I already showed you that the zoom throw is perfect. Your manual focus ring is right here. You've got some custom buttons on the side, 1, 2, and 3 for presetting certain things. You have your AF to manual switch. You have full-time DMF. That's where if you want to override the autofocus in some positions, some places, actually that comes in handy when you're shooting video or when I'm shooting video. You have your G badge for G Master, and you also have the foot right here, and the foot comes off. I personally don't use the foot, but if you're going to be shooting video, that's something that you're going to want to have the foot on there. This is not a monopod lens. You do not need a monopod here. You can hand hold it. I personally shot it on the A9 III because the A9 III is the type of pro body that you want to see if you can take advantage of the amazing autofocus and the speed shooting of 120 frames per second, which you will see later. You can, of course, shoot at 120 frames per second, whereas on something like a 35-150, which is another option that existed from Tamron before everything else, and by the way, I own this. I bought this because I really liked the range. This is a 35-150. It's an f2 to 2.8. So from 35 to 39 millimeters, you do have an f2. You could see it's much smaller. It's also external zooming just like this. So that means that it extends, and it actually makes it basically the same extension as the 50-150, which is all internal. Nothing is extending here because all of the zooming is being done inside. So big difference in price, big difference in quality. This doesn't hold a candle to that. I'll just tell you that. But for most people, when you hear the price of this, you're gonna realize why, as amateurs, you're gonna end up buying the Tamron instead. Now here's something that didn't even cross my mind when I was shooting the whole time was, how is the image stabilization? And I just realized that there's no switch for image stabilization. It doesn't say OSS on it anywhere. It doesn't have image stabilization. That would have added weight, that would have added heft, and that's the same as weight, and that would have added size, but also probably added price. But in reality, it didn't affect anything. I didn't have any problem shooting with this. Whereas the 70-200, of course, has optical stabilization built in. Now keep in mind that all of Sony's latest bodies, the pro bodies, have 8 stops of image stabilization. So it also almost makes it unnecessary. Now, it's nice when you have them in combination and you get even more, but in my shooting in the real world, didn't even cross my mind as being an issue at all. Now, speaking of the real world, there's some things that I know I wanted to know. Is a 135-1.8 better than 135 at f2? Well, we can put the two examples side by side and you can sit there and see the difference, right? No, the answer is really, it's very difficult to notice a difference at 135 between 1.8 and 2. But the versatility that you get from 50 to 150, I think I'll take that if it's that close. It's very difficult to see a difference there. So that for me means that the 135 would be kicked out of my bag, never to be taken again, which means you might not even need to buy it and you put the money towards this. So that's one of the examples. Another reason that lens gets kicked out of my bag is you got 150 f2. That's better than a 135-1.8 in my opinion at this point. So that's another pro towards this. Now, some of the sports shooters that I talk to, they're like, well, I still love my 200. I want 200. So what's the difference between 150 and 200? Well, I've got a couple of examples. We've got a picture right here where you can see which one's longer, 200, and you've got 150. This is not great for shooting sports at a distance. It's not meant for that, whereas at 70-200 will still give you better results from a distance because you're getting that extra reach. It's actually a bigger difference than what I initially thought between 150 to 200. Here's another example. You have Bryce Harper up to bat. You can see him at 200, and you can also see him at 150. Right there, you can see you get more bang for your buck. So you have to decide, do you want a little bit more reach, or do you want that f2 and that uniqueness? It's different for everybody. For me, I'm taking the 50 to 150 for the type of things that I shoot because I want that f2, and I love that in combination with a 28 to 70 f2. Let me jump in here real quick because I want to show you our custom Lightroom presets in action on this cute dog right here, starting with Blue's Clues, followed by Brooklyn. We've got C41, Copper Tone, which looks awesome, DeLorean, High C, Kaleidoscope, Mel Brooks, Saltwater Taffy, Thick, Tintype, and Wet Hot American Summer. And my all-time favorite from FroPack 1, with one click, we've got Skittles, and it goes boom. But all new and exclusive to FroPack 4, we have 4 custom adaptive Lightroom presets called Face Enhance, Full Body Skin Enhance, Eye Only Enhance, and Background Blur. So look, if you want to speed up your raw workflow, give yourself a great starting point, or you're just tired of other people's presets sucking, as you can see, our presets do not suck. That's why we created 14 all-new custom Lightroom presets that you can check out right now at froknowsphoto.com/FroPack4. While you're over there, you can play with the sliders to see the befores and the afters, and if you decide to pick them up right now, they are currently on sale. Or if you want to get the Grand Slam bundle that includes FroPack 1, 2, 3, and 4, and of course my favorite Skittles, you can save even more. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, I know some people out there might be saying, well, can I throw a teleconverter on here to give me more bang for my buck? And the answer is no, you can't. Sony has built this in such a way that the glass goes all the way to the end of the lens. You can't put a teleconverter on there. And personally, I would never throw a teleconverter on something as good as this. So no, you cannot do a teleconverter. Now, are you gonna miss out on having a 70 to 200 when you've got 50 to 150 as the zoom range? Well, that's wider than 70. So for example, when I'm sitting inside third base, that's what we call it in Philly when I'm shooting at Citizens Bank Ballpark, and I'm right there at the on-deck circle. Well, this is 50 millimeters of the batter getting ready to go up to the plate. And then I zoom into 150 millimeters. You can see the range that you get. Would I have benefited from a 70 to 200 there? The answer is no. I wouldn't have been able to get the same frame because I was able to go wider here at 50. I don't have examples of a 51.2 versus this, and that's gonna be a big differentiator for someone deciding on do they wanna get rid of their 51.2. I own a 51.2. I own the 70 to 200. If I owned this lens, I'm still gonna keep the 51.2. Except I'd rather have an 85-1.2 because an 85-1.2 is better, and a 28 to 70 f2 is covering that range, which as a pro, if you're gonna buy this, you're gonna already have that 28 to 70. But yeah, 50 to 150 was a nice range for what I was personally photographing. Now, can you get the 120 frames per second? Well, let's find out with Shohei Ohtani. When he steps up to the plate, I bang the speed boost button and you get 120 frames per second. You can do that in full RAW with full autofocus. You have 4 XD linear motors in this. The autofocus it's indistinguishable that the focus is even moving. I don't think there were images that I missed. I can't think of any where I was like, yep, that's totally out of focus, or that the focus was slow to get somewhere. No. The focus was never slow to get anywhere. It is lightning quick. It's incredible. It's one of the greatest tools that I've ever personally used in my life. And then when Shohei Ohtani was coming off the field, I quickly panned over to him because he was coming up the first base side from behind home plate, and I'm just quickly banging out shots because I'm like, oh shit, he's moving quick. Let me see what I can get. Autofocus finds what it needs to find. The quality of image is fantastic. Shohei on the on-deck circle. Oh my God, am I happy with this shot. He just stood there, looked out into the distance, and I was like, thank you. I'm at 150 millimeters for this. I think this is perfectly framed. Didn't cut off the top of the bat. He's between the light stanchions. We zoom in on his eye and you're like, holy God, this is incredibly sharp. The one thing you'll notice from this lens is how beautifully sharp it is. And I know some portrait photographers are like, the lens is too sharp. I mean, I'd rather have a lens that is too sharp than not enough sharpening. You can take this down. If you really want to pull back on sharpening and clarity, you could absolutely do that after the fact with your RAW files. But the colors, the tones, the focus, the crispness, this is like A+, 100% perfect lens. I don't have any issues that I personally find with this. Now let me bounce around to a couple of my favorite images here. Now we've got Taryn Hatcher here on the bench. She's one of the commentators, sideline reporters at the Phillies. It's gorgeous. I just love the results that I got out of this for a portrait. We move over to Kyle Schwarber, who was walking off the field. We're at 50 millimeters. Focus nailed him right there in the face, right there in the eye. The colors with my presets look great. Again, results are fantastic off of this lens. You get great separation from the background. The big questions start to come when you talk about the price. This is hovering right below $4,000 or right around there. It's an expensive lens. But you have to think about if it's replacing something like a 50-1.2 for you, a 135 1.8, and even your 70-200, then the price starts to look more reasonable. It doesn't seem out of place. We know that the 28-70 f2 is expensive. The 50-150 f2 is expensive. But for me, it's 100% worth it as a full-time working pro or for a full-time working pro or people that can afford it. If that's not you, the 70-200 is a fantastic lens still to this day, and it will continue to be into the future. Personally, I replaced my own 70-200 with this. That's my personal choice. Other sports shooters still want to keep their 70-200, and that is their choice. Just imagine that you have a Black Rapid double strap on. You have that on the left-hand side, you've got a body with a 28-70. On the right-hand side, you have a body with a 50-150. You're shooting weddings? You are covering the entire wedding with that combination of lenses. And yeah, the third lens that I personally would have in the bag, just in case, is gonna be something like a 12-24 2.8, just so that I can cover that wide shot when I need it. But for 99% of the things that you're gonna shoot, you have 28-70 and 50-150, everything from portraits to photojournalistic stuff, you are absolutely covered. This is the type of combination that makes you think you wanna switch back to Sony. But if you're a Canon shooter, I personally wouldn't switch at this point because I would think that Canon has something up their sleeves at some point to bring this similar thing. Let me jump in here real quick and say, would you like me to send you a free guide to capturing motion in low light situations? If you said yes, just look for this orange box over on froknowsphoto.com, put your name, email address in it, hit send it. I'm gonna send you that guide for free. Now, in terms of pricing, the 35-150 is a $1,900 lens. The 70-200 is a $2,800 lens. A 135 1.8 is a $2,100 lens. So if you're not buying a 70-200 and a 135 1.8 from Sony, you have the amount of money to buy this, just from those two lenses, or selling those or trading them up for something like this. But there are two very important tests that we need to see if it passes. We've got the sniff and the wind tunnel test. Let's take the sniff test. Oh my God. Unicorn. So good. That is like the most expensive stuff ever. It is incredible. And now the wind tunnel test. Oh man, it failed the wind tunnel test just like the Berlin Wall. Not great. At the end of the day, who is this for? You've got your wedding shooters, you have your portrait photographers, someone who's gonna photograph their kids. I mean, it's great in low light. It's gonna be amazing for concert photography, different types of sports. If you're a basketball photographer, holy God, is this gonna be incredible for separating you from everybody else. That is the point, except for other people that also have this lens, but that's the point. It's a differentiator. In this day and age, you need to differentiate yourself from everybody else, and lenses like the 28-70 and the 50-150 are absolutely going to do that. As you can tell, I think this is one of the most incredible lenses ever made, if not the most incredible thing. I think it's one of the most versatile. It covers such an amazing range. I'm in love with this lens and I'm gonna wanna buy this. Even though I'm not a Sony shooter, I wanna own this. So that's where I'm gonna leave it, guys. If you'd like to purchase this, our affiliate links are down below. That helps us to continue to make the content that we make. Thank you guys very much for watching. Jared Polin, froknowsphoto.com. See ya.